shooting a commercial every week. It was like, oh, you got booked for that, you got booked for that. They loved your casting. And at that point, you just kind of go, okay, cool. So I can do this. Or like, I do have talent.
Get to know Richard Kyle. Here we go. Get to know Richard Kyle. Richard Kyle.
Richard, last year you became the first Indonesian bachelor.
The work and effort of shooting something like that is not easy.
Even if you met someone interesting, could the process of filming spark chemistry?
Besides the main goal of like meeting the one, the fame was part of the job, but it was not something I wanted.
You've had some high-profile relationships. For you, what was it like going through very personal relationship challenges whilst the whole world was commenting?
So I opened the doors to allowing that. I think sharing your world to constantly, 24/7 to everyone, is a bit intense. The judgment you may get from the public because you open your world to them is what you have to accept.
Beyond the surface, beyond everything that you do, who is Richard Kyle?
Hi guys, quick one. A small favor I want to ask from each and every one of you, if you're enjoying the episode that you're currently watching, is to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It goes a long way in supporting our vision of the podcast, where we want to go, the guests we want to talk to, and your simple gesture of clicking subscribe is the biggest favor you can do for us. So if you could do that right now, that would be awesome. Thank you so much, and back to the episode.
Richard, what do I need to know about your upbringing, your early years, for me to really understand and have context into who you are today?
I think it's all related to upbringing. I think a lot of people that know me, I'm like a third culture kid, two different cultures from mom and dad's side, big mixed race. I've always felt I've had the best of both worlds. And that be obviously Asia and the West, UK or Australia, where my dad's from. So I feel like having those two different countries or continents, we can say, is like a big deal to being brought up just in a little bit of a unique setting than most, who feel like they have one home, one identity, and their relatives are like one kind in a way. So being mixed, I think it opens a lot of doors to opportunity.
Where did you stay?
I was born in Sydney.
Okay.
But we left when I was really young because Dad got a job back in Jakarta, Indonesia. So my mom's Indonesian, father's British, but we became Australians because the kids were born in Sydney. So it made sense to settle there for now. And then we went back to Indonesia, Jakarta. And then basically when I was 11, I got sent to boarding school with my sister. And my dad stayed on in Southeast Asia and they moved to Bangkok, Thailand. So there's a lot of kind of jumping around different Southeast Asian countries. And it was just due to Dad's work. I was never in one spot too long, you know? But I guess going to boarding school and becoming an Aussie again, that was the foundation of being Australian, but always overseas 4 times a year to visit the folks or live in a different culture or a different climate.
What did your parents do?
So Dad was a CFO, so chartered accountant, finance director for multinational companies. Him being in Southeast Asia, before even he met my mum, let's just say it was the boom of these developing countries. So he was kind of in the right spot at the right time. Just had all these opportunities to be developing the brands, or let's say the companies, to where they are now.
And how about Mum?
Mum, they met in Jakarta. Mum was working in a hotel. Mum's Sundanese from Bandung, which is West Java. But Bandung's not that far from Jakarta. You can take there's the fast train.
Okay.
They've just built the fast train, so it takes you 45 minutes. On the speed train, which goes like 300 kilometers an hour. So that's a big milestone for Indonesia, as a developing country.
Awesome.
They've got this, like I say, this supersonic train. It's actually called the Whoosh.
The Whoosh.
Yeah.
Like,
the nickname is called the Whoosh.
Definitely didn't have the Whoosh when I was there last.
Sure. So you've been to Jakarta?
Jakarta, Surabaya, and out of all places, I've been to Pekanbaru once.
Oh.
And why was I there? I was there for like a talk or something. Anyways.
Nice. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Now, you said, Rich, before that you were raised in a loving family who always advised you and guided you through life. are there one or two memorable moments that best describes this guidance?
Loving family is one thing. That's definitely, I think, the benchmark of why I've become the way I am, or my personality traits. Because I feel like being in a big family too, four of us. So younger brother, older sister, older brother as well. So it's four of us. And I think just seeing our parents be the loving couple they are, it's just given me, I guess, inspiration to being like, oh, okay, so this is what a family is. Stick to your roots, stick to your connection with your closest, which are your brothers and sisters, mom and dad, and obviously extended family as well. But I think we just had such again, being multicultural, understanding my mom's culture, being also Muslim, and kind of growing up in that at a younger year, to also all of a sudden being in Australia and then knowing the Aussie life or the Aussie way, the West. It just kind of makes you a bit more grounded and open-minded. It makes you more, I guess you have the sense of freedom. So that's nice.
Did you have trouble fitting in?
The early days, yeah.
Yeah.
I think when I came back to Australia, a lot of my Asian friends were bullied. I was too. Because I came back and I remember I was coined a nickname in school, which was fake American.
Fake American.
Yeah, because I came from international school with an American accent. But then people like, but you're Australian though. You don't look like us. You look like us. You don't talk like us. You don't dress like us. So people were like, who are you? You're not us. So I think the first few years was tough. But then what I noticed is a lot of, let's say a lot of friends or a lot of people that I grew to like slowly kind of accepted difference and they liked it. So once the indifference was actually kind of cool rather than everyone being the same.
Yeah. I love that. I was born in China. I came to Australia when I was 5. Fitting in was hard. And then once I learned how to fit, I learned the language, started watching the same cartoons as everyone else, The Simpsons. I was talking about The Simpsons every day. Yeah. And my parents got me to go back to China when I was 8. And I was like, oh, now I don't speak Chinese. I have no idea what cartoons these guys are watching. And I still remember in school, people didn't really know who I was. They were like, oh, this kid from Australia, but he looks like us. Like, who is he? Like, is he really like Australian?
Yeah.
And one thing they got me to do was, so if you're really like Australian, you speak English, right? Count from 0 to 100.
That was easy. You just did it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The moment I got past 15, everyone was like, oh, he's legit.
Oh, wow.
Because they didn't know anything beyond like 10, 11, 12. Yeah. And then I came back to Australia in year 5. And once again, I learned all this Chinese. I assimilated. And then now I have to discover who Britney Spears was and Backstreet Boys and all that.
What was mainstream?
It was confusing, man.
Stuff, right? Yeah.
It was confusing.
Yeah, I can imagine that, going back and then all of a sudden you're this unique kind of kid, but you're blending in with everyone. So,
did you have that every time you relocated somewhere? I mean, you were 4 when you went to Jakarta, came back to Australia, and then when you were 11, eventually you spent a lot of time in Bangkok as well. But,
let's say I never went to school in Bangkok. My younger brother did before he moved to boarding school as well. So we were just waiting for him to be the right age. Living in Bangkok was like my younger teen years of just kind of learning how to be street smart and having the freedom to go traveling. At 13, we have holidays, right? So my friends would bring their backpack and come stay at my place in Bangkok. We had 3 weeks off. So we would just go, jump on a train or a bus and just go exploring, go up to another country like Cambodia, Laos, and all the neighboring countries in that area. Yeah. So I feel like being in Bangkok was such a hub to, again, be more open-minded and just kind of be amongst the cultures and the differences, right? But at such a young age. And my parents were let us off the leash. I think that was more just because mom felt like, yeah, do what you want. You've got the opportunity. We're not going to say you can't go up to the north and with your friends, just be safe, be good, which we probably didn't do because we were just being, being complete rascals. At that age, we were just running amok. So I guess that's why I say street smart. We learned the hard way.
You learn how to live in the world.
Yeah, and it was the confidence you build up from that, right? Where some people they're going to the big, wide world and in their 20s or something. Whereas I feel like I've done that in my teens.
If I was one of your mates back in Bangkok or perhaps even earlier, were there any clues that we would have found to indicate that, okay, Richard in the future, he's going to be a movie star or a celebrity, or like, were there any clues even back then?
Yeah, there probably was, because
Yeah.
I started being talent, being like let's say a modeling in Bangkok. And that was when I was like around 13.
Okay.
So that was on holidays as well. When I was already in boarding school, I'd come back on holidays, and all of a sudden, people coming up to me and saying, "Oh, this is my business card or an agency. I'd like to represent."
It's like on the street, people
Yeah, like go to the mall, just on the SkyTrain, hang out with my friends.
yeah.
And it just accumulated a bunch of, business cards of these agents over like a week. And I was like, "Mom and Dad, what's this?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, it's an agency. They think you can be, you're good enough to be talent or something, right?"
Yeah.
So I was like, "What's talent?" And then I looked into the whole modeling thing. But even back then, I think when I was 13, I was such a rebel that, I was really into my whatever, whether it was my punk rock stage, my emo stage. I was like, "Oh, like modeling, big deal. Like, who's that? Like, that's not cool."
Who wants to be a model? Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, that's not cool even. Like, I was like, kind of into my music and just being a teenager, I guess.
You're a drummer.
Yeah, so just being like that type of, I don't know, mindset of just like, I don't know, like, we all go through that teen stages. But when Mum was like, "Listen, you could do this and make extra money on the side, more than your pocket money, and then you can, you can do what you want with it, kind of thing. You can save it, you can whatever." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So then kind of that brought me into another world. And then I started taking it more seriously because I started getting opportunities. And I remember at the start, I think, because it was all new, you don't have this confidence of like being in front of the camera. All of a sudden you're being asked to act a certain way for the feeling they want to capture, talking for like a TV commercial. And at the start it was weird because how are you supposed to, like now, like how are you supposed to be in front of the camera? Like obviously someone's directing you. But after a while, I got the hang of it in terms of how do you win a casting and how do you get the casting director like you. And that was just by listening to their direction and capturing the feel they wanted to get. And I started doing that. And then it was just like shooting a commercial every week. It was like, "Oh, you got booked for that. You got booked for that. They loved your casting. You got booked for that." And it was just like, "Oh, cool." Now I'm like in the spotlight. I'm like the main talent. And there's like girls and guys behind me who are my partners or, sport talents. And yeah, and at that point you just kind of go, "Okay, cool. So I can do this," or like I do have talent. So from there was just, start to something more, I guess.
Yeah. And you guys were known as talent. So talent, support talents, that was the term.
Talent was like, every time you walked into, on set, obviously you go to the makeup room, wardrobe room, it's always like talent, and they'll put your name, Richard Carl talent.
In your opinion then, how much of the talent, the person, is like talent and how much of it is hard work?
So if we define talent, it's just saying you're the spokesperson of that job,
Sure.
whatever the brand is. So if we take away talent, I think talent's just defined towards, again, back to commercial. Why did you win the job over like 50 people that also did the audition?
So then were you more talented, therefore you won the job, or do you feel like there was a certain amount of perhaps excellence or work or preparation that you did?
No, I don't think it, honestly, back then, especially early days, again, as a kid, 50 people standing in front of the camera and there's a casting director telling you what to do. Like, "Hey, look, you're in a car," and then like, whatever, you see your girlfriend, you tell, like whatever it was.
Yeah.
There's always, you're always doing something, doing an action. And all they wanted to see was, they'll be like, "Okay, you finally, whatever, like you see the girl, she's across the street." And like they want to see the moment you see the girl and your feeling. And usually the feeling is created, it's not again talent, but the feeling is created by how you see it. So imagining the girl across the street, it's like the most beautiful girl you ever see. You're starstruck. So I think I was able to do those things they wanted and capture that feeling in that moment. And that's what they want, because the casting director knows exactly the 3-4 seconds they need before it goes on to next step, which is like, now you're with her and you're having ice cream, or like whatever it may be, right? Whatever the storyboard is. So I think getting those few seconds and exactly what they want, because like you might do that and they go, "Oh, that was good, but can you do it? Can you show me even more? Like, I want overexpression to like you seeing her. Like the last time was good, but I want you even more like shocked that she's this most beautiful person."
50%.
Yeah. So what's that? What's that to you? It can be like your smile's bigger, you're staying still because you're just like, it's, it can be many things, right?
Yeah.
So I think I was just able to convey that to the casting director, which ultimately said, yeah, this is who you want, to the client.
And how did you progress from there in terms of your modeling career? You eventually went into acting. What was
The
next
modeling
step?
thing was just experience. I think my first commercial was like, I think it was for Fanta.
Okay.
And like I flew to Malaysia to shoot it. So it was like a direct booking, where direct booking means they just fly you for the weekend or whatever, or the 2-3 days of shoot it, then you fly back. And that was my first gig, and I remember going, oh wow, and like my manager's taking me to the airport and saying bye, and I'm like a kid, and like obviously someone's
How old
taking
were
me.
you?
I think it was like 13,
Yeah. Okay.
13, 14.
Yeah. And where did you progress from there? 13, 14?
So from there, it was just doing, let's say I was a commercial model. Like I said, there was a point where I was shooting a commercial every week, at least, maybe sometimes 2, depending. So that was, let's say that was the path of experience. So just gaining knowledge of how to act. Again, non-scripted as well, because a lot of this is just facial expressions, sending the feeling across and going, yeah, that's what we want. All just, that type of kind of, let's say, acting or that type of modeling. And then from there, I just built that folio up and was able to get representation in different Asian countries. So I became, let's say, international model. Traveled, was doing stints in Singapore for a couple of months, Hong Kong, all that stuff. So I'd find different markets that was appealed to my look, but also to the commercial side. And I started getting big campaigns as well. And then through that, the natural progression to moving to Indonesia at 25 years old was kind of like, why don't I give Indo a shot? I haven't been back since I was 11. And funny enough, I met my manager in Melbourne. So he met me through a friend, caught up with him. He said, I'd love to represent you, I think you've got talent.
Yeah.
So back to talent, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, why not? I was based here at the time. And he's like, just come for 6 months. If it's if you're not comfortable, or if it's not working out for you, it doesn't matter. You can always come back. And it's true. So I took that step again to go back to, I guess, my roots of being in Jakarta, which was so weird and nostalgic in so many ways, to like think, well, I'm back in this big crazy city that I knew when I was my young years. Now I'm like in my 20s. That was a weird transition. But getting there and just getting into it straight away and starting to gain, let's say, popularity, and also just getting all these campaigns. I started scoring all these big campaigns to the point where one of my biggest campaign was for Nivea Men, and that was like a contract for a couple of years.
Okay.
So when they gave me a 2-year contract, that means I'm there. So it was like, well, I guess I'm not going. So as soon as that happened, everything else just kind of fell in place. So I started going to acting class. My bahasa was shot, I had to learn Indonesian again. So that was a challenge. But it's funny because when you knew as you were young, like at a young age, you knew I was speaking bahasa to my mom, or like to the maids, or like not to our friends, because our school friends were all foreigners. But that comes back to you.
Yeah.
So when I came back, it took me like about 1.5 years to like really, grasp the language barrier again.
Yeah.
And I feel like even now I'm not that great, or like my bahasa still, I would say, it's okay. It's mediocre, but maybe that's because my accent is still very Australian or very foreign. So when I say certain things, people are like, oh, that's funny the way you say it, or it's cute the way you say it. Yeah, just being there now for many years, you kind of start to pick up, let's say, the slang, the lingo, how the kids speak these days. But that's always changing, I think. Like in Indonesia, a lot of kids in this generation now making their own kind of language.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's, same in America and the West, but keeping up with that type of slang or the way they, conversate is like, it's different,
Yeah.
So in time you pick that up.
Looking back now at your, I guess, from 13 onwards in your career, has that, I guess, extra attention and fame, how has that shaped your teenage years? Like, was it beneficial? Was it, for you who you are today, was it a struggle? Because I sort of see both.
I don't think it was a struggle. I think I felt when I left uni, I did a master's in film and television production at RMIT in the city. I think Asia was always calling me for some reason. And I think going back on holidays and traveling, I just felt like, yeah, this is where I want to be. It wasn't like, I want to be in Melbourne, or I want to be in Sydney, I want to be, in Australia. Not saying nothing's wrong with being here. I love Australia and I love being here. Just, I felt like, the world's your oyster, right? So getting out was an important thing for me. Yeah. Getting myself out, my face out, getting this, this persona of Richard Kyle being talent was important for me to be in those markets or, gain. There was never fame. It was never fame. It was just being like, what can I give with the talent or the experience I've got in the industry?
Sure.
As being talent, That's why I say talent because, now obviously I've done hosting and a travel show for many years. Obviously acting, portraying characters, all sorts of stuff. Now, again, being brand ambassadors for certain products and brands and stuff. So I think having all that, experienced all that, makes you, this coin thing as talent. You can't. I don't necessarily want to say, I'm an actor. But I feel like, you got to be diverse in the industry now, and especially with the digital age, with being social media being like such a big swipe kind of world. Even that you have to be a persona in your own brand. So I guess the talent is broad. Generalizing talent is super broad, but it's true. It's not just one thing. You're not just a host. You're not just an actor. You're you got to be able to, you got to be able to juggle like all the different things, and I guess have that experience as well, which is good.
I don't know if you've heard this story before, but Will.i.am said that when he grew up, he was quite poor, and the school he went to didn't have uniforms, right? So his mum would make this suit for him to wear, and said, if you're going to school, you're wearing the suit because you're going there to learn, not to play. You got to be serious. And he had this experience where some people ended up saying, oh, he's actually really poor and whatever. And then another group of friends saying, oh no, but he can't be poor because he's wearing a suit. Like, people wear suits, they can't be poor. And that's when he realized that this suit was like a suit of armor, of protection for him, because it represented him in a certain way. And when I heard that, I was reminded of Michelle Obama, who, when Barack was campaigning, she would just wear whatever she wanted until people gave her feedback and said, hey, you should sort of dress up a little bit. And she went through this journey of going, well, why are people judging me for my looks? And but then she ended up coming to the realization that to the public eye, your clothing and your fashion, it's actually a weapon. It's a form of communication, right?
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think in different situations, fashion is important, or like the way you present yourself. Let's say that. So again, being talent for many years, having so many different outfits, costumes, and that's also like, that's everything. Like from doing modeling and being in these flamboyant outfits that you would never necessarily wear on the street, but you wearing it for a shoot or for a concept, it's actually really cool. Do you know what I mean? Like you understand why, and you see the creative aspect of it. So I think, when you say, is fashion relative to how you present yourself in front of an audience? Absolutely. But I don't think she's right. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But I think, that's funny because I think when I was younger, having materialistic things is somewhat important. Like, it's like, okay, I still like having nice clothes, Sure. What's nice clothes? Yeah, there's some branded things. There's things you look for that's aesthetically pleasing to you.
Sure.
So that's still definitely in my head for sure. I've learned also having unfortunately, fast fashion seems to be stuff you invest in that just breaks, it gets torn up so quickly, it gets, the wear and tear on fast fashion is so quick to the point where it's like, oh, wait a minute, if I invest in something that's, just got a bit more quality, it's going to last longer. And that's the truth. So, you know, you learn that as well.
Price per wear.
Yeah, right. So you learn that as well. But presenting yourself in different situations, that's super important. I think that, you know, you should always dress to what, you know, to a degree of whatever the event is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to rock up to like a wedding or, you know, like this. But if it's 33 degrees in Melbourne and I want to be comfy, then I'm going to wear shorts.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, like whatever, sleeveless top, feel comfortable instead of put my jeans on and like, you know, wear a shirt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's just how you feel too. And I think when, you know, now that in some ways I'm exposed to the industry so much that it's funny because like, when I was younger, I used to always say, like, can I get away with this by going? But now people are like, dude, you can get away with whatever you want to go in that event.
Yeah.
Like if you want to wear that at an event, they're going to be like, oh, cool. Like, you know, so I learned also to be confident, just whatever you feel like for, you know, for a certain event, to an extent, you can just be you.
Love it.
Like, if that's how you feel comfortable, then do it.
Yeah. And not using fashion, I guess, as your source of
And I think
confidence.
back in the day, fashion was always so like, again, it was always stiff because you're like, you'd wear things for the sake of the image.
Yes.
Whereas now it's like, nah, I buy things now because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the age thing, when you get older, you just feel like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be as comfortable as I can because I know I'm that many hours at that certain event.
Yeah.
I'm not letting myself feel like, you know, like, damn, I have to wear this uncomfortable gear.
Yeah.
That would just ruin your mood in a way.
Yeah.
So definitely learned the tricks to feeling good, you know, with what you wear.
Yeah.
Again, depending where you are.
Yeah. Now, aside from your, I guess, normal talent work, you're also involved with a few NGOs. You've raised a lot of money, and also one major thing is BOSS. So
BOSF,
BO and orangutans and all that.
orangutans.
Tell us about that. Why are you passionate about orangutans?
So that stems from when I was super young. I remember I went to international school in Jakarta, British international school at the time. And I remember in year 3, we were on the subject of the rainforest. More so towards, obviously, a big topic, deforestation. Because at the time, in we can say, let's say late 90s, that was an issue that was talked about now.
Yeah, sure.
You know, whether it's Indonesia rainforest or the Amazon or any forest, you know, the deforestation. That, I remember that was the key word. You know, our subject was deforestation. At the time, I was like, what's deforestation? Well, obviously cutting of the forest. So naturally, from that subject, researching and like, you know, even at the time, I think internet was, we're now searching stuff, but you only used, you know, Google was still basics.
Yeah.
So even though we were using that, we were still going to the library and looking at books.
Encyclopedia.
You know, still had it. Britannica, exactly. We still had that. So that just inevitably led me towards endangered species.
Yeah.
And, you know, Indonesia's native animal was orangutan, which ultimately means, you know, a person of the forest. Orang, person, hutan, which is forest.
Most people don't know that.
Yeah. So orang-utan means person of the forest.
Yeah.
For people who don't know that. And I just became obsessed as a young kid. And I think what was, at the time, what was relatable to me was when I researched the great apes, and there's 5. The 5th, do you know what the 5th great ape is? Humans.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's 5 great apes, you know, including gorilla,
What are they?
chimpanzee.
Okay.
So there's bonobo. There's, you're probably like, what the hell is that? That's an ape.
Okay.
There's chimpanzee, there's orangutan, and there's gorilla.
Yeah.
And then there's humans.
There's us. Yeah.
Because we share 98.7, if I'm correct, DNA.
Yeah.
So we're in the ape family.
Yeah.
So monkeys are not considered apes. They're
Okay.
monkeys, again, different. They're primate family, but they're not a great ape.
Got it.
So when researching that, my biggest connection to like why I was so fascinated by this species was because if you look at orangutan, they've got this brown color or this orange coat. And if you look at the local Indonesians, or I believe, is like they've got, again, this tan colored skin, you know? So there's a lot of resemblance. In some ways, this is at the time when I was young, in some ways like gorillas in Africa.
Sure.
There's this common resemblance, even though that's nothing to do with color. I'm just saying there is a strong connection here.
Yeah.
So for me, I think, you know, Indonesia having a, you know, the native animal, and obviously with the depreciation of the forest that's been going on since the 50s, I felt like, you know what, this is something we need to talk about.
Yeah.
You know? And again, trying to live a more sustainable life and having so many crises around the world, to me, it was an amazing opportunity when they asked me if I wanted to, you know, help out and volunteer. And I was like, all for it.
Yeah.
So I'm a campaign awareness volunteer for the BOSF, Borneo Orangutan Survival Foundation, based in Kalimantan, Central and East Kalimantan. And they also have their offices all around the world, Australia, UK, also in Europe. And what I do is raise awareness, obviously by helping out in any way in terms of, you know, raising funds, donations. You know, obviously merch is a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, that helps in any way. And also people can also, adopt orangutan and do that too as well, which helps them. Well, basically what BOSS does, because of the depreciation of the forest, what we do is rescue these orangutans and then we rehabilitate them. So once we rehabilitate them, which is not a quick fix, it takes, you know, about 10 years to 11 years to rehabilitate a baby orangutan to be independent again. We release them back into secured forest land.
And for anyone that's, I guess, how should I put this, not passionate about apes, how is it still relevant to just the average person who perhaps isn't as passionate about rainforests and
Who isn't?
apes? Yeah, who isn't?
Absolutely.
How is it relevant?
Oh, it's so relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, what I go back to, you know, I talk about the Indonesian rainforest. If we're cutting down the trees and we're ultimately, you know, depreciating these key species, which is orangutan. Not saying they're one of the key species that we need for our ecosystem. And why is that? Because they basically every night they change their nest. So they're traveling from tree to tree every day,
Right.
and they're spreading their seed. So when they spread their seed, obviously poop,
Yeah.
which is fruit seeds, that ultimately germinates the forest, rejuvenates the forest, which keeps us having a luscious rainforest. So they're one species or many species that do that. If we take that away, at the end of the day, we have no trees. What do we have to breathe? How do we live? I mean, it's more to just, you know, CO2 and oxygen, but it's more to that. It's more, you know, I mean, having good lush rainforests, you know, mango trees, so important for all sorts of stuff, like, you know, filtering the water system, you know, clean water. You know, there's so many things that are beneficial, like even mangrove forest, you know, which are on, like, a lot of mangrove forests are demolished because of expansion and development of these cities. You know, a lot of Jakarta's mangrove forests are gone because we've just developed. But they take in so much CO2. You know, they're capturing so much CO2. So they're like one source that's, you know, helping us breathe clean air. Also protect us from natural disasters, or if there's a tsunami or such, you know, again, they help that impact. So there's many beneficial reasons to why we should be, you know, thinking about nature rather than not caring at all.
Yeah.
Really, I think it's to prolong not just our future as human beings, but every other living species, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where, without proper education, we don't necessarily see those links, right?
Yeah,
we see
and I
things
think
as
the
individuals.
biggest struggle too is, even though I try to gain awareness, and there are a lot of people that want to fight for nature, which is great. And, you know, we see the biggest change now in this generation, especially for the youngest generation, which is great. It's everyone gets on with life and forgets about, you know, those key aspects that we should be thinking about. Again, back to sustainability, the simple things like recycling. You know, we've got a plastic pollution that's just horrendous, you know, and there's so many amazing NGOs that are, you know, working in Bali and also moving to Java to help that situation because of the plastic pollution that are also, you know, ruining our seas as well. So I think, being aware of it and actually contributing is a big importance. If everyone's contributing, then we can make a difference. And that's the honest truth. If you want to be, you turn a blind eye, or, some people say ignorance is bliss. But, really the impact goes back to, future generations. Yeah. And I think now is important because I feel like, in some ways, since the Industrial Revolution, it's taken us, 150 years to poison the earth. Whereas before that, we weren't burning coal and oil, but all the years, hundreds of years before that, it was almost like we still lived such a clean environment. So I feel like in a short amount of time, we were able to poison the earth to now have the biggest consequences of the future. And if we can ultimately change that and turn that around by using renewable energies and finding a new energy source that will actually be sustainable for the billions of people on the planet, then maybe we will win. But if we don't care about it and just go on like business as usual, then in some ways, that doesn't help the fight of trying to, save our species or save the planet in some ways.
Yeah. I love that. Richard, last year you became the first Indonesian bachelor. There is further context to this question, but how does one become the bachelor?
Yeah, well...
Did you apply? Did they
No.
come to you?
Yeah, so people think it's apply. No, actually, the women apply.
The women, okay.
Yeah, so they approached me because they wanted to try. It's a renowned brand. It's been around for 20 plus years. I think it started in America.
Yeah,
probably. But as you know, it's super popular in so many different countries, and it's expanding. Different African countries have it. Yeah, it's because I talked to one of the producers who literally travel all around the world to these new countries that are, making, season 1, 2, 3, basically the brand's there now and they're creating the production and shooting it and, being part of that. And I remember this lovely lady from the UK she's a part of that. She's part of the brand, and she makes sure every country follows the show's way.
Sure.
Because you don't want to change the template when you've got when it's a certain way. So they make sure that's all produced correctly.
Yeah. It's like a franchise.
Being the first in Indonesia was kind of a controversial thing. Yeah, it was a little bit controversial, but I think they were open to it. I think Indonesians were very much open to it because, again, being a brand and knowing that it's everywhere else, why not try it?
Why did you say yes?
Do it for the money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It might sound like super kind of shallow in a way because you didn't do it for love, but I think the producers were like, listen, we're not here to find you the one. Yeah. But we'd love you to be open-minded. So I was like, I can be open-minded, but at the end of the day, it's still a job. It's still a production. It's still like they say, the client still needed me, you know what I mean, or someone to represent the brand. Yeah. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like, all right, this is a cool gig. I'm totally down for doing it. Yeah. If it's worth it, why not? Mind you, it was the hardest job I've ever done.
Okay, how so?
Because dating that many girls in a short period of time, it's like dating on steroids.
That was a dumb question, yeah, sure.
But dating, I was tired. So I remember they said production would be we'd shoot 5 days and then you'd have 1 day off. Or was it, I think it was 6 days and 1 day off. And then that was what we were told. And then once we started day 1, we ended up shooting 10 days, 1 day off for 2 months. Yeah. So that's intense because that means I'm on every day. Yeah. I mean, I'm on for 10 days and then I have a day off.
You're the main character.
Yeah. So, but that's intense. Yeah. That's intense. That's already intense. Yeah. And then think about it say day 3, you're at the rose ceremony, before the rose ceremony, you have to do these speed dating things. So you have 15 minutes with that girl, then the producer go to her, go to her, go to her, go to her. And I'm doing that over 3.5 hours. Imagine 15 minutes with you, then moving on, 15 minutes, 15. Your brain's like, and some people, you're tired.
Yeah.
You're like listening and you're like, and you're still going to play the role.
Yeah.
I'm still being myself, but I'm playing the role because I got to give them the time of day, everyone. I can't be like, great, this is really fun, now moving on. Like, you're not that fun.
Yeah.
I'm not going to care.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, what do you want to talk about? I want to get to know them.
Yeah.
So it was intense. Yeah, it was intense. It was really tiring, to be honest. So like people always say like, oh man, you must have had the best time of your life. Like playing that role was like, like how was it? And I was like, it wasn't fun at all.
Yeah.
Realistically, the work and effort of shooting something like that is not easy.
Yeah.
And it's funny because after like day 3, the line producer, Janine based in Sydney, she's done like 5 of them. She flew up she was a producer for it. And she came up to me and she's like, we never said it was going to be easy, no one ever said, they never said it was going to be easy. So I remember she said that and I was like, oh, okay, I got it. She's like, well, you got to get into it.
Yeah.
You got to be on it. And obviously they're feeding me back and forth what they need. I'm working with the producers, I'm working with the director. So, it's not like it's my baby. It's not like, oh, this is my show. It's not like that at all. You've got this brand, they've got a way of doing things. You're in it to find, love, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
So,
could you even if you met someone interesting, could the process of filming even remotely spark chemistry?
yeah, because you don't, what you learn is from day one, they always say, forget about the cameras. There's so many cameras around. Day one, they had the most cameras. I remember took a photo on my phone because I've never seen that many.
You have to show me those.
Sony XRs or whatever they're called. I don't know, the kind of broadcasting cameras.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. I think Sony X or something. But it was like 15 in a row on tripods. So they've got like lines to every single camera, and then as soon as day one they set it up like behind and like in front, and then like there's just guys that are like near the bush, you know what I mean, like, and they and then they'll creep up slowly and get closer or whatever, and then it was just like there was just cameras everywhere, but you day one they just said just ignore it. What are you here for? Meeting people. So you just start chatting and it becomes you don't even think they're there.
Yeah.
You really don't. You just feel like, oh, there's lights, there's guys running around, but you're just, you're chatting away. And then eventually the producer will come out and say, okay, Rich, come back to this room, ladies, get together. Now we're moving on to the next, segment, the next scene of shooting. Yeah. Which is like getting ready for them to stand on the pedestal. Yeah. Waiting for their rose or whatever it is.
How fascinating.
Yeah. What was really fun, I think, I'm going to say, even though I said it was really hard, what was really fun was, the idea of the Bachelor Indonesia was to connect to the Indonesian culture. Yeah. And that is to basically showcase, and they did really well, showcase Bali and its culture. Sure. So doing that, we had a lot of fun activities. Yeah. Whether it was swimming with manta rays, diving with manta rays.
I did that in Bali.
Loved exactly. It, yeah. Or like, all sorts of things, Balinese dancing, and like learning how to, learning the Ramayana and having to do that in a real life performance in front of the public within a day. Like there was like small challenges that you had to achieve to also want to make it look good and look authentic. Yeah. So I think that was beautiful about it. Even though, besides the main goal of like meeting the one, it was like the experience you have on all these different activities. So that was really fun. The travel and the excitement of it. Yeah.
Now, when I do like a Google search on you, and I find all these articles and things like that, certain words keep repeating. Some of those words are, the main words are hunky, heartthrob. It's sort of like the brand, I suppose, but I know you are so much more than that, right? That's just the brand. Yeah. So I guess beyond the surface, in your own words, beyond modeling, acting, everything that you've ever done, even the NGO stuff that you're involved with, beyond everything that you do, who is Richard Kyle?
It's interesting. Who am I? To be honest, I think realistically, who I want to be as I get older and become more wise. I think one thing I've always kind of lived my life was just be yourself. I think that's a big importance because I feel like I've seen a lot of talent per se that are like almost following a certain, I don't know, a certain persona or a certain, they're taking something from a certain angle that's not really them. So I think being yourself is such a big part of being able to just be organic and natural to who you are. So when you say that to me, like, who are you from everything I've done? I think I still feel like I'm still the laid back kind of Aussie bloke.
Yeah.
That's just very obviously adventurous and easygoing. And can talk to anyone and don't feel like I've got some sort of status because of the fame I've built over the years in obviously Indonesia or such. I think that all doesn't matter as well. I think I've matured enough to realize, this fame thing is honestly, honestly, it's the kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think what I've been able to do to say being me is to not allow that to get to my head. I don't know, some people, I guess a lot of people take that and go, great, I'm this now, so therefore, you know, I'm entitled to this, or I should be like this, or I should walk like this, or people should respect me because of my status. But for me, I don't think so. And I feel like the fame was part of the job, but it was not something I wanted. And I now in some ways, what I noticed for like, obviously living in Indonesia, wherever I'm out, taking photos with people is part of the job. So wherever I am, I have to accept that people want to take photos, and you've got to put that time and effort in for them because it makes their day, you know? So those are the things that I feel as I get older are a bit of annoyance. But again, what comes with the fame is those things you have to accept. You know, it's not like I'm the only one. Everyone else who are mega famous, like they're always going to be, you know, they're going to be guarded now, and like they have to, you know what I mean? There's so many things involved in terms of how famous you are and being in the limelight. For me, I don't want to say if I could take it back, it would be, you know, it's nice to just be a normal person, but the real Richard Carl is a normal person.
Yeah.
And like, if you take myself out of Indonesia in some ways, it's almost a blessing.
Yeah.
Because I get to just be me.
Yeah.
And I'm not really, you know, people are not like asking or, interrupting me when I'm just living my life and enjoying my break or whatever. So that's something you cherish. And I think, like you said, going back, who am I? Yeah, I'm just this laid back, normal guy that, you know, wants to learn a bit about everything and just constantly be adventurous and get out there. Yeah.
I love it. And I like what you said about the cost. There is a cost to everything. There's a cost to fame. Obviously, it brings you opportunities, but also everything's in the public eye. And I guess stemming on from The Bachelor, that was like a fishbowl experiment almost of, you know, Richard Kyle's relationship and 15 cameras, like capturing every single angle. But even outside of the show, you've had some high-profile relationships. And it's one thing, everyone goes through relationships, difficulties, triumphs, setbacks, but most people don't do it in public, right? Because they're not famous. For you, what was it like going through those very personal relationship challenges whilst the whole world was commenting?
So I opened the doors to allowing that because my partner at the time, let's say fiance, was supposed to get married to, was going to get married to, she was very much in the limelight in Indonesia. So whether I liked it or not, even if I wanted to be on the sidelines a bit, it didn't make sense. I would have to accept if she shows her world to everyone, then I would ultimately be in it. So, and like it was, I guess it was relative because I was also in the limelight. So it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like it was almost like 2 and 2 made sense. They go together. But honestly, in my opinion, to me, being the person I am, I think sharing your world to constantly 24/7 to everyone is a bit intense. And it's not, you know, it's like you end up being a different person. Not being a different person, you are the person you are. It's just that the consequences and the, what do you call it? Like the judgment you may get from the public because you open your world to them is what you have to accept. And I did accept that. I mean, like obviously I've had backlash and as such and all sorts of negativity towards the past and you know, what I've been through. Again, for showing my world too much in some ways. So it is tough, you know, like that's the hard parts because when, you know, to be honest, how I deal with negativity, and it's a different subject, but
How do you do that? Yeah.
how do I deal with it is, to be honest, I just don't allow it to well, it doesn't get to me because I feel like I'm so comfortable in my own skin and I know the person I am. So whether it's fake news, whether it's people having opinions on this and that, I still come back to a realization like, wait a minute, those people don't even know me.
That's true.
The only people that really know me are my closest friends and family. So it doesn't need to affect me. It doesn't have to hurt me. Whereas some people, I understand it can really affect them, especially in the mental health side of things. So, you know, it can really make you or break you, you know, in some ways. But for me, I'm able to kind of like brush that off and not care. So when negativity comes in, I just kind of block it out.
Yeah.
Like I don't allow it to get to me. I just, you know, I feel like I'm too much of a positive being to allow, you know, anyone to ruin my day because I won't let that happen. You know, I'm too happy and, you know, happy-go-lucky kind of character that it doesn't affect me. And it's good maybe because I've got thick skin from having an upbringing in Australia and also like in Indonesia. So like, I think that's what's helped me kind of, you know, have a guard for myself so it doesn't get to me.
Because it sounds like that was a process. Like it wasn't just, you know, this talent that you were born with. Oh, haters, I don't care. But your upbringing.
I think everyone's different.
Yeah.
I think it is how you've been how you've been brought up. Because I think everyone deals with that differently. It can affect. I have some people that affects them badly to the point where like I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm done with the industry because they're not strong enough to like allow. You know what I mean? Like if you make one mistake and people are commenting and you know and there's so much judgment towards it, at the end of the day, honestly, it's just noise because they weren't there. They don't know. They don't really know what happened. They think they do because of what they see. So they feel like they do because it's what they see. It's their own interpretation of what they see, but they don't really know what goes on behind closed doors. So realistically, if you can change, you know, put those, categorize them differently and allow yourself to go, oh, that doesn't matter because, you know, they don't really know you, then it shouldn't really matter. You know, like you know, if you're strong enough to say that.
It's true.
But yeah, it can definitely get to people.
Yeah. Is there anything, you have a public persona, is there anything that you wished more people knew about you that perhaps they don't know?
No.
Okay.
I no. Like if I were to like have to, I think I've been in the limelight enough that all the people, one of my fan base, or the people who know me, have watched me throughout the years, kind of know my character. But is there anything I like keep to myself that people don't know? No, I don't think so. Like I said, going back to the one thing that's always led me since I was a kid was just be yourself. Yeah. And it's true, being yourself makes you unique to who you are. And I think allowing yourself to just be you, for some reason, captures, people capture that talent or that, that captures your persona and they can see how they can use that in a good way for whatever they want to use you with, like, you know, as a talent, as a production, whatever. They can go, oh, that's exactly what we want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know as an actor, we have to play different roles. agreed, and obviously rehearsing and trying to, dive deep into the character. Totally understand that's, you're not being you. But I just think doing many things as talent and bringing something different to the table is your uniqueness. And that's just being you. No one should change because someone's saying you should be more like this because that's going to get you more work.
Yeah.
Where it's like, wait a minute. You can understand their point in that, but I think don't lose yourself.
Well, Richard, we have an ending tradition on this podcast where the previous guest writes their piece of advice that they want to be known for in this journal. So this is the official Secret Hustle Journal. Okay. And I like to pass on this piece of advice to the first guest without them knowing who you are or you knowing who they are.
Cool.
So some people like to leave long messages. This person, half a sentence.
That sounds like me in a second.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah.
The advice that's been left here is just turn up and smile. What does that mean to you?
I think they're trying to say is be comfortable in your own skin. And I think confidence goes a long way in any situation. I mean, even if it's your first day on the job. If you show a certain confidence, people will naturally have this trust or veer to looking up to you in a way. Your first job, you don't know how to. You're waitering. That's an intense situation. Oh. But if you come in ready to work, people are gonna be like, oh, great, what a great waiter. Like, oh, they're smiling at me. They've got this good energy. They've got, this presence, their first day, they don't know much, but the other people don't know that. If you're smiling and you're serving them in a good way, with the right energy. And then if you don't know, you're always going to go get help because you're with a team.
Yeah.
So I think that says, I was just trying to explain.
That's so funny because you don't know who the guest is, but they, so much of the conversation was about being confident in your own skin and showing up in a sometimes hostile environment. So that was very interesting. Yeah. Well, Richard, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it because you don't live here. You're here on holiday, so you've taken some time out to spend with us. So on behalf of the audience, thank you, and also thank you for being the representative for all the good work that you're doing with the NGO. That's really making a difference and bringing awareness to things that more of us should know. So I honor you for that. And
if you've got a platform, use it to your potential for the good. Don't just be greedy and take.
Amazing.
So you gotta give back, and again, like it's great when anyone that has a platform, do it for the good so people can learn more and be more sustainable in life and let's say go the right direction. I mean, if we poisoned the earth for so many years, there's got to be a way where we can give back by not poisoning it and making it more healthy again. So.
I love it, man. Thank you so much, bro. Appreciate it. Thanks.